Imagine a world where the divine wasn't just a he, but also very much a she. In ancient times, people saw the sacred as a balance of masculine and feminine forces, and this balance was reflected in their worship. Yahweh, often thought of today as the sole male figure in ancient belief, was worshipped alongside Asherah, a goddess who embodied the divine feminine. Far from being a small side note, Asherah was central to spirituality, showing how early cultures saw the divine as both a nurturing mother and a powerful father. This ancient worship of Asherah alongside Yahweh is more than just history. It challenges the idea that spirituality has always been male-centered. By looking at the stories and symbols left behind, we can understand how people once saw the world as full of divine energy that honored both women and men. Through Asherah's story, we can see that the feminine side of spirituality was not just respected but celebrated. Rediscovering Asherah isn't just about the past. It brings us new insights into modern spirituality. Her story encourages us to think about what we've lost over time and how bringing back this balance of divine feminine and masculine might deepen our own understanding of the spiritual. In exploring the identity and significance of Asherah as the wife of God within ancient Israelite religion, we uncover a fascinating narrative that has been largely overlooked in mainstream historical discourse. Archaeological discoveries have played a crucial role in revealing the extent of Asherah's worship in ancient Israel, providing tangible evidence of her presence in the religious practices of the time. Excavations at sites such as Kintilat Adrud and Tel Dan have unearthed inscriptions and artifacts that reference Asherah, often in conjunction with Yahweh, suggesting that she was not merely a peripheral figure, but rather a central component of the spiritual landscape. These findings challenge the traditional monotheistic narrative that has dominated the understanding of ancient Israelite religion, indicating that the worship of Asherah was an accepted practice among certain communities. Asherah was revered as a goddess, often associated with fertility, motherhood, and the nurturing aspects of the divine. Her role in the divine partnership with Yahweh is significant, as it reflects a more complex understanding of the divine than what is typically acknowledged. In many ancient Near Eastern cultures, the concept of a divine consort was common, and Asherah's position as Yahweh's wife aligns with these broader cultural practices. This partnership symbolizes a balance between masculine and feminine divine attributes, suggesting that the ancient Israelites may have perceived their relationship with the divine as one that encompassed both aspects. The reverence for Asherah indicates that she was seen as a vital force in the cosmic order, contributing to the fertility of the land and the well-being of the community. The cultural implications of Asherah's worship alongside Yahweh are profound. Her presence in the religious practices of ancient Israelite society reflects a more inclusive understanding of divinity, one that acknowledges the importance of the feminine. This duality in worship challenges the patriarchal narratives that have often dominated religious history, suggesting that the ancient Israelites may have embraced a more egalitarian view of the divine. The coexistence of Asherah and Yahweh in worship practices implies that the community recognized the necessity of both masculine and feminine energies in their spiritual lives, fostering a sense of balance and harmony. Moreover, the acknowledgement of Asherah's role in ancient Israelite religion invites us to reconsider the evolution of religious beliefs over time. As monotheism became more firmly established, the worship of Asherah was increasingly marginalized, leading to the erasure of her significance in the collective memory of the Israelite people. Understanding Asherah's identity and her partnership with Yahweh not only enriches our comprehension of ancient religious practices, but also highlights the ongoing struggle for recognition of the divine feminine throughout history. In conclusion, the exploration of Asherah as the wife of God in ancient Israelite religion reveals a rich tapestry of beliefs that challenges contemporary understandings of divinity. Through archaeological discoveries, we gain insight into her worship and the cultural implications of her presence alongside Yahweh, prompting us to reflect on the complexities of ancient spirituality and the enduring significance of the divine feminine. Examining the historical context of King Josiah's reforms reveals a pivotal moment in the evolution of Israelite religion, particularly regarding the erasure of Asherah from religious texts. Josiah, who reigned in the late 7th century BCE, initiated a series of religious reforms aimed at consolidating worship practices and centralizing religious authority in Jerusalem. These reforms were driven by both political and spiritual motivations, as Josiah sought to unify the kingdom under a singular worship of Yahweh, thereby reinforcing his own power and legitimacy as king. The political landscape of the time was fraught with external threats and internal divisions, and by promoting a monotheistic framework, Josiah aimed to strengthen national identity and cohesion among the people of Judah. The campaign against Asherah was not merely a theological shift, but also a strategic maneuver to eliminate competing forms of worship that could undermine Josiah's authority. Asherah, often associated with fertility and the nurturing aspects of the divine, represented a significant challenge to the emerging monotheistic ideology. Her worship was deeply ingrained in the cultural practices of the people, and her removal from the religious narrative was essential for Josiah to establish a clear and singular devotion to Yahweh. This campaign involved the destruction of shrines, the removal of idols, and the suppression of any practices that honored Asherah, effectively rewriting the religious landscape of ancient Israel. The consequences of transforming Israelite religion into a monotheistic framework were profound and far-reaching. This shift not only altered the nature of worship, but also redefined the relationship between the people and the divine. By erasing Asherah from the religious texts and practices, the Israelites moved towards a more rigid understanding of divinity, one that emphasized Yahweh's singularity and authority. This transition marked a significant departure from the earlier, more inclusive practices that acknowledged both masculine and feminine aspects of the divine. The result was a narrowing of spiritual expression that marginalized the feminine, leading to a diminished recognition of the divine feminine in the collective consciousness of the Israelite people. As the perception of the divine feminine was increasingly obscured, the cultural implications of this shift became evident. The narrative surrounding the divine began to reflect a predominantly patriarchal viewpoint, where feminine qualities were often relegated to the background or entirely omitted. This transformation not only affected religious practices, but also influenced societal attitudes towards gender roles and the understanding of femininity within the community. The erasure of Asherah symbolized a broader cultural trend that sought to elevate masculine attributes while diminishing the significance of the feminine, leading to a legacy that would resonate throughout subsequent generations. In conclusion, King Josiah's reforms and the subsequent erasure of Asherah from religious texts represent a critical juncture in the history of Israelite religion. The political and spiritual motivations behind this campaign reveal the complexities of power dynamics and the desire for unity in a tumultuous period. The shift towards a monotheistic framework had lasting consequences, fundamentally altering the perception of the divine feminine and reshaping the spiritual landscape of ancient Israel. Understanding this historical context allows us to appreciate the rich tapestry of beliefs that once existed and the ongoing implications of these changes in contemporary discussions about gender and divinity. Investigating the significance of symbols associated with Asherah, particularly the sacred tree, reveals a rich tapestry of meaning that underscores her role in ancient religious practices. The sacred tree, often depicted in various forms across ancient Near Eastern cultures, served as a powerful symbol of life, fertility, and the nurturing aspects of the divine. In the context of Asherah's worship, the tree represented not only the fertility of the land, but also the interconnectedness of life, growth, and sustenance. Trees were revered as sacred entities, embodying the essence of nature's bounty and the cyclical rhythms of life. They were often associated with a goddess, symbolizing her role as a provider and protector of the community, reinforcing the idea that the divine feminine was integral to the fertility of both the earth and its people. However, as monotheistic beliefs began to take root in ancient Israel, these symbols were increasingly targeted for destruction by biblical authors and reformers. The sacred tree, once a revered emblem of Asherah's presence, became a focal point for the campaign against idolatry and polytheism. In the biblical narrative, references to Asherah poles or sacred trees are often accompanied by condemnations of their worship, illustrating the desire to eradicate any competing forms of spirituality that could undermine the singular devotion to Yahweh. This targeted destruction was not merely an act of religious reform. It was a strategic effort to reshape the cultural landscape and eliminate symbols that represented a more inclusive understanding of the divine. By dismantling these sacred trees and erasing their significance, the biblical authors sought to reinforce a patriarchal narrative that prioritized masculine attributes and diminished the role of the feminine in the spiritual realm. Despite these efforts to erase the symbols associated with Asherah, their legacy endured in later traditions. The sacred tree motif persisted in various forms, often reinterpreted within new religious contexts. For instance, in many cultures, trees continued to symbolize life and fertility, embodying the nurturing qualities that were once associated with goddesses like Asherah. In Christianity, the tree of life appears as a potent symbol of eternal life and divine connection, echoing the earlier associations of trees with fertility and sustenance. This continuity suggests that while the specific worship of Asherah may have been suppressed, the underlying reverence for the sacred tree as a symbol of life and growth remained embedded in the cultural consciousness. Moreover, the enduring legacy of these symbols can be seen in contemporary discussions surrounding nature, femininity, and spirituality. Modern movements that seek to reclaim the divine feminine often draw upon the imagery of the sacred tree, recognizing its historical significance as a representation of nurturing and life-giving forces. This reclamation serves as a reminder of the complexities of ancient beliefs and the importance of honoring the feminine aspects of the divine that have been marginalized throughout history. In conclusion, the investigation of symbols associated with Asherah, particularly the sacred tree, highlights their cultural importance as emblems of life and fertility. The targeted destruction of these symbols by biblical authors reflects a broader effort to reshape religious narratives, yet their enduring legacy in later traditions underscores the resilience of these powerful images. By recognizing the significance of the sacred tree, we can appreciate the rich history of the divine feminine and its ongoing relevance in contemporary spiritual discourse. Presenting archaeological findings that support the existence of Asherah's worship in ancient Israel reveals a compelling narrative that challenges traditional understandings of Israelite religion. Excavations at sites such as Megiddo and Terah have unearthed significant evidence indicating that dual worship of Yahweh and Asherah was not only practiced, but was an integral part of the spiritual life of certain communities. At Megiddo, for instance, archaeologists discovered a series of inscriptions and artifacts that reference both Yahweh and Asherah, suggesting that these deities were worshipped in tandem. This duality reflects a more complex religious landscape than the monotheistic narrative often portrayed in biblical texts, indicating that the ancient Israelites may have embraced a more pluralistic approach to spirituality. In addition to inscriptions, the discovery of figurines and artifacts further illustrates Asherah's presence in daily life. Numerous clay figurines depicting female forms, often characterized by exaggerated features associated with fertility, have been found in domestic contexts throughout ancient Israel. These figurines are believed to represent Asherah and were likely used in household rituals, aimed at invoking her blessings for fertility, prosperity, and protection. The prevalence of these artifacts in everyday settings underscores the significance of Asherah in the lives of the people, suggesting that her worship was not confined to formal religious practices, but was woven into the fabric of daily existence. Such findings highlight the importance of the divine feminine in ancient spirituality, revealing how deeply ingrained these beliefs were in the cultural consciousness of the time. Moreover, the implications of these archaeological findings extend beyond the mere acknowledgement of Asherah's worship. They challenge the prevailing narratives that have historically marginalized the feminine aspect of the divine in ancient Israelite religion. The evidence of dual worship suggests that the ancient Israelites had a more nuanced understanding of divinity, one that encompassed both masculine and feminine elements. This recognition of duality in worship practices invites a reevaluation of how we interpret ancient texts and the cultural dynamics at play during that period. It also raises important questions about the nature of religious authority and the ways in which certain beliefs were suppressed or erased in favor of a more singular narrative. The findings from sites like Megiddo and Terah also illuminate the broader context of ancient Near Eastern religions, where the worship of female deities was common. Asherah's presence alongside Yahweh aligns with similar practices observed in neighboring cultures, suggesting that the ancient Israelites were part of a larger tapestry of belief systems that recognize the importance of both male and female divine figures. This interconnectedness enriches our understanding of ancient spirituality, emphasizing the shared cultural heritage that influenced religious practices across the region. In conclusion, the archaeological discoveries supporting the existence of Asherah's worship in ancient Israel provide invaluable insights into the complexities of ancient spirituality. The evidence of dual worship at sites like Megiddo and Tirarad, along with the figurines and artifacts representing Asherah, underscores her significance in the daily lives of the people. These findings challenge traditional narratives and highlight the importance of recognizing the divine feminine within the broader context of ancient religious practices. By acknowledging Asherah's role, we can foster a deeper understanding of the rich spiritual landscape that characterized ancient Israel and its surrounding cultures. Analyzing the ideological conflict between monotheism and the worship of Asherah reveals a complex struggle that shaped the religious landscape of ancient Israel and had lasting implications for future generations. The biblical authors framed Asherah's worship as heretical, positioning it as a direct challenge to the emerging monotheistic ideology centered around Yahweh. This framing was not merely a theological disagreement. It was a strategic effort to consolidate power and establish a singular religious identity that would unify the Israeli people under one deity. By labeling the worship of Asherah as idolatrous, the authors sought to delegitimize her significance and erase her presence from the collective memory of the community. The narrative strategies employed to suppress Asherah's memory were multifaceted and deeply embedded in the text that would come to define Israelite religion. The authors often employed polemical language, depicting Asherah's worship as associated with immoral practices and foreign influences that threatened the purity of Yahweh's worship. This tactic not only vilified Asherah, but also created a dichotomy between the true worship of Yahweh and the perceived corruption of polytheistic practices. By portraying Asherah as a rival to Yahweh, the biblical authors effectively marginalized her role and reinforced the notion that any acknowledgement of the divine feminine was incompatible with the worship of a singular, all-powerful God. Additionally, the suppression of Asherah's memory involved the systematic destruction of her symbols and shrines. Archaeological evidence indicates that many sacred sites associated with Asherah were dismantled or repurposed during the reforms of kings like Josiah, who sought to eradicate remnants of dual worship. This physical erasure was complemented by the textual revisions that omitted references to Asherah, further solidifying the narrative that positioned her as an undesirable aspect of Israelite spirituality. The ideological battle against Asherah was thus not only a theological conflict but also a cultural campaign aimed at reshaping the identity of the Israeli people. The cultural impact of this ideological battle on future generations cannot be overstated. The suppression of Asherah's worship and the framing of her as a heretical figure contributed to a broader patriarchal narrative that dominated religious thought for centuries. As monotheism became the prevailing belief system, the divine feminine was increasingly marginalized, leading to a spiritual landscape that often overlooked or dismissed the importance of female deities. This legacy of erasure has had profound implications for how gender and divinity are understood in contemporary religious contexts, perpetuating a cycle of exclusion that continues to resonate today. Moreover, the ideological conflict between monotheism and the worship of Asherah has sparked renewed interest in the divine feminine in modern scholarship and spiritual movements. As contemporary discussions around gender and spirituality evolve, there is a growing recognition of the need to reclaim and honor the feminine aspects of the divine that have been historically suppressed. This reclamation serves as a counter-narrative to the long-standing ideologies that sought to erase figures like Asherah, highlighting the importance of inclusivity in spiritual discourse. In conclusion, the ideological conflict between monotheism and the worship of Asherah illustrates a significant turning point in the history of ancient Israelite religion. The framing of Asherah's worship as heretical, coupled with the narrative strategies employed to suppress her memory, has had lasting cultural impacts that extend into modern times. By examining this conflict, we gain valuable insights into the complexities of ancient spirituality and the ongoing relevance of the divine feminine in contemporary discussions about faith and identity. Exploring how Asherah's attributes and influence persisted in later religious traditions reveals a fascinating continuity of the divine feminine that transcends her initial worship in ancient Israel. Despite the systematic efforts to erase her from the religious narrative, Asherah's characteristics can be seen transformed and reinterpreted in figures such as wisdom and Shekinah. In the Hebrew Bible, the personification of wisdom is often depicted as a feminine figure who embodies divine insight and understanding. This transformation reflects Asherah's earlier associations with fertility, nurturing, and the life-giving aspects of the divine, suggesting that her essence continued to resonate within the evolving religious landscape. Similarly, Shekinah, representing the divine presence of God, is often described in feminine terms, emphasizing the nurturing and protective qualities that echo Asherah's attributes. The role of feminine divine figures extends beyond Judaism, permeating various religious traditions, including Christianity and other faiths. In Christianity, the Virgin Mary is often venerated as a maternal figure embodying compassion, nurturing, and intercession. Her role as the Mother of God resonates with the attributes associated with Asherah, highlighting the enduring significance of feminine divinity within the Christian tradition. Additionally, the concept of the Holy Spirit, sometimes referred to in feminine terms, further illustrates the integration of feminine qualities into the understanding of the divine. This incorporation of feminine figures into religious narratives underscores the ongoing relevance of the divine feminine, suggesting that the attributes of figures like Asherah have found new expressions in later traditions. In other religious contexts, the presence of feminine divine figures is similarly prominent. In Hinduism, goddesses such as Durga and Lakshmi embody strength, fertility, and prosperity, reflecting the same nurturing qualities that characterized Asherah. These figures serve as powerful symbols of the divine feminine, emphasizing the importance of female deities in spiritual practices and beliefs. The reverence for feminine divinity across various cultures and religions highlights a universal recognition of the need for balance between masculine and feminine energies in the understanding of the divine. The ongoing relevance of Asherah's legacy in contemporary spirituality is evident in the resurgence of interest in the divine feminine. Modern spiritual movements increasingly seek to reclaim and honor the feminine aspects of the divine that have been historically marginalized. This reclamation often involves revisiting ancient symbols and figures, including Asherah, to foster a more inclusive understanding of spirituality that embraces both masculine and feminine qualities. The rise of goddess worship and feminist spirituality reflects a growing recognition of the importance of the divine feminine in personal and communal spiritual practices. Furthermore, contemporary discussions around gender, power, and spirituality often draw upon the legacy of figures like Asherah to challenge patriarchal narratives and promote inclusivity within religious contexts. By acknowledging the historical significance of the divine feminine, individuals and communities can work towards creating a more balanced and holistic approach to spirituality that honors the contributions of both male and female divine figures. In conclusion, the exploration of Asherah's attributes and influence reveals a rich legacy that has persisted in later religious traditions. The transformation of her characteristics into figures like wisdom and Shekinah, along with the role of feminine divine figures in Christianity and other religions, underscores the enduring significance of the divine feminine. As contemporary spirituality continues to evolve, Asherah's legacy remains relevant, inspiring a renewed appreciation for the feminine aspects of the divine and fostering a more inclusive understanding of spirituality in today's world. The modern resurgence of interest in the divine feminine marks a significant cultural shift as individuals and communities increasingly recognize the importance of feminine spirituality in a world that has long been dominated by patriarchal narratives. This renewed focus on the divine feminine invites a deeper exploration of figures like Asherah, whose attributes and influence have persisted throughout history, despite efforts to erase her from religious texts. As contemporary spiritual seekers look to reclaim and honor the feminine aspects of the divine, Asherah's role becomes increasingly relevant, serving as a symbol of the nurturing, life-giving qualities that have often been marginalized in traditional religious frameworks. The growing recognition of feminine spirituality is evident in various contemporary movements that seek to elevate the voices and experiences of women within spiritual contexts. Feminist theology, goddess worship, and earth-based spiritual practices are just a few examples of how modern seekers are embracing the divine feminine. These movements emphasize the importance of inclusivity and balance in spiritual practices, acknowledging that the divine encompasses both masculine and feminine energies. By reclaiming the narratives of female deities like Asherah, practitioners are not only honoring the past, but also fostering a more holistic understanding of spirituality that resonates with the complexities of contemporary life. Contemporary movements are actively working to reclaim Asherah's narrative, recognizing her significance as a goddess of fertility, motherhood, and nurturing. This reclamation involves revisiting ancient texts, archaeological findings, and cultural symbols that celebrate the divine feminine. Workshops, rituals, and discussions centered around Asherah and other female deities are becoming more common, providing spaces for individuals to connect with these figures and explore their relevance in today's spiritual landscape. By bringing Asherah back into the conversation, these movements challenge the historical erasure of feminine divinity and encourage a more balanced approach to spirituality that honors both male and female aspects of the divine. Moreover, the resurgence of interest in the divine feminine invites individuals to explore the balance of masculine and feminine energies within their own spiritual practices. This exploration can lead to a deeper understanding of how these energies manifest in personal beliefs, relationships, and community dynamics. By recognizing the value of both the masculine and feminine, individuals can cultivate a more integrated spiritual experience that honors the full spectrum of human experience. This balance is essential for fostering a sense of wholeness and connection to the divine, allowing practitioners to draw upon the strengths of both energies in their spiritual journeys. Encouraging viewers to engage with the divine feminine and explore the balance of masculine and feminine in spirituality is vital in this transformative era. By examining the narratives of figures like Asherah, individuals can gain insights into the historical significance of the divine feminine and its ongoing relevance in contemporary spirituality. This exploration can inspire personal growth, healing, and empowerment as individuals reclaim their connection to the nurturing and life-giving aspects of the divine. In conclusion, the modern resurgence of interest in the divine feminine highlights the growing recognition of the importance of feminine spirituality. As contemporary movements work to reclaim Asherah's narrative and honor the divine feminine, they encourage a more balanced understanding of spirituality that embraces both masculine and feminine energies. By exploring these themes, viewers can embark on a journey of self-discovery and connection to the divine, fostering a more inclusive and holistic approach to spirituality that resonates with the complexities of the modern world. In this video, we have explored the multifaceted significance of Asherah, the ancient goddess whose worship alongside Yahweh reveals a rich tapestry of beliefs in ancient Israelite religion. We discussed how Asherah was revered as a symbol of fertility, motherhood, and the nurturing aspects of the divine, playing a crucial role in the spiritual lives of the people. However, we also examined the implications of her erasure from religious texts, particularly during the reforms of King Josiah, which framed her worship as heretical and sought to establish a singular devotion to Yahweh. This ideological conflict not only marginalized the divine feminine, but also shaped the religious landscape for generations to come, leading to a legacy that often overlooked the importance of female deities. The video highlighted how archaeological findings, such as those from sites like Megiddo and Terorod, provide evidence of Asherah's worship and the duality of religious practices in ancient Israel. We also discussed the transformation of Asherah's attributes into figures like wisdom and Shekinah, illustrating how her influence persisted in later religious traditions. The ongoing resurgence of interest in the divine feminine today invites us to reclaim Asherah's narrative and recognize the importance of balancing masculine and feminine energies in our spiritual practices. As we wrap up this discussion, we encourage you to engage with the content by subscribing to our channel, liking this video, and sharing it with others who may be interested in exploring these themes further. Your support helps foster broader discussions about the divine feminine and the complexities of ancient spirituality, allowing us to delve deeper into these important topics together. Additionally, we invite you to explore related content on our channel for a more comprehensive understanding of the divine feminine and its implications across various religious traditions. Whether it's examining the role of female deities in different cultures, discussing feminist theology, or exploring the balance of masculine and feminine energies, there is a wealth of information available that can enrich your spiritual journey. By engaging with this content, you not only contribute to the conversation, but also empower yourself and others to reclaim and honor the feminine aspects of the divine that have been historically marginalized. Together, we can foster a more inclusive understanding of spirituality that recognizes the significance of both male and female energies in our lives. In conclusion, the significance of Asherah and the implications of her erasure serve as a reminder of the complexities of ancient beliefs and the ongoing relevance of the divine feminine in contemporary spirituality. We hope this video has inspired you to reflect on these themes and explore the rich history of feminine spirituality. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to continuing this journey with you as we uncover more about the divine feminine and its enduring legacy.